Hey everyone, it's Martin Schneider, VP and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research, covering all types of cool growth technologies.
And I'm Larry Dignan, Editor-in-Chief of Constellation Insights, and we're your co-hosts for CRTV episode 112.
112. Wow.
Did I get that number right? Last time, we thought we were going to hit by a tsunami, so it feels like it's been a while since we've done this. So we're here to talk about the latest news in enterprise tech. This episode will cover the news and whether we're in an AI bubble. And then we're going to talk to Certinia's Raju Malhotra to talk about building on AgentForce and Certinia's rollout of its AI agents. And then Martin's going to kick off his big idea report with a riff there. But for now, let's get on to the news. One of the questions that we're starting to see a lot of, especially around here, I'm starting to, I've got a little gray hair, so I've kind of lived through a bubble or two. Man, I'm smelling an AI bubble. I think we've got OpenAI trying to talk down what's possible with models in terms of this super intelligence thing. GPT-5 looks like a flop. Seeing a bunch of ETFs and other nonsense. I'm not going to name names, but I will tell you I linked to in my newsletter. Just sort of silly season. SPACs are back. If you remember what a disaster those things were. Right. And then, things like Databricks valuation, 100 million. Databricks rocks, I'm not going to lie. 100 mil? Not so sure. I mean, I could go on. The other thing is, me and Martin are both from Philly. If you're from the East Coast, you know a little thing about Wawa. Yeah. When you hear old people talking about AI stocks in line, the end is near. So when your mom asks you about NVIDIA, it's kind of over. Right. So I don't know. What do you think, Martin? Are we in bubble zone or no?
Definitely in bubble zone in some ways, but I think all bubbles have their own kind of unique characteristics, right? Because some bubbles are aligned with manias, right? Market manias, right? And when those two come together, that's like really bad. But I think bubbles can just be, just kind of bubbles in their own right. And I think what we're seeing now is broader interest in like the financial side of all this stuff that's happening. But I think one of the biggest problems is the pace of innovation is so fast that like what I would call kind of like downstream and rubber meeting the road investment and value creation is not meeting up, right? So that like the hype and like I don't like to use other, common terms from other firms and things like that, but like that inflated expectations and things like that, right? A lot of that is happening. But I think the biggest problem that we're seeing and what's kind of causing this to be more of a bubble than a hype or a mania or things like that is the simple fact that value is not being realized where it matters most, right? And that's, end user organizations leveraging different types of AI. And I think that's another problem, is a misunderstanding in the different types of AI and their applications. But bringing that to say, here is tangible, measurable value that we're getting, and therefore then, at least in some way legitimizing some of these valuations, right? So I think that's the big issue, right? Is that we're just not getting value downstream, even though the pace of innovation has been insane, right?
Yeah, I think I would call it a bubble with some nuance.
Yep.
And the nuance is, even if nothing develops further for the next year or two, for the enterprise, that might be great.
It's a better situation.
They can keep rolling stuff out. They could do agents. Who cares if the models get better? There's enough here to drive productivity. The problem with that is if we don't get super intelligence or robots walking around, autonomously and all this stuff that's been hyped, frankly, valuations will crash. Like there'll be serious disillusionment here. Yet some of the enterprise software vendors could do very well. So I think it's an interesting time where I think it's like, you look at previous bubbles, right? The value realized was usually after the bubble crashed. after the infrastructure was built, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, totally. Internet bubble, all that, the .com.
Totally. You can look at all that stuff. Even railroads, right? You could just go back.
Right.
Refrigeration. You could go back in time and look at all this stuff. So it does make me wonder. It also makes me wonder because, we got into video reporting soon, their earnings. For those watching the market, people know that every time the video reports, it's the most important earnings report of the century or whatever. And then we forget about it after 2 days.
Right.
And then we have Dreamforce, which AgentForce is going to be coming up, whatever that new version is. Salesforce is going to talk earnings, and we know Mark Benioff's going to tease a lot of that stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But I do wonder what the tone's going to be like, right? Because last year was a lot of pyrotechnics and demos and spin up your agents. And this year has got to be a lot more practical, I would think.
I think so. And I think what you're seeing kind of almost to like counter the bubble and seeing that when you look at Salesforce and the acquisitions they've made leading up to Dreamforce, you look at Regrello, you look at, I think it's pronounced YWAII, you look at Bloopers. What are you seeing, right? You're seeing things that make both like data cloud and a lot of their foundational AI elements functional, as well as more like inherently functional tools to make the AgentForce stuff like easier to use for like anybody to go and grab, right? Like making the SDRs more useful, making Moon Hub, right? Making HR agents much more functional, kind of out of the box. So kind of going against this idea of this bubble where like, value received in ROI has been like, really trying to push that practical element of like, hey, here's stuff that actually works. I think that's what you're going to see a lot more of, a much more grounded, kind of serious and pragmatic approach that we're going to see is like, okay, hey, we did 3 in the last like year or so, we did 3 revs of AgentForce really fast, blinding speed of innovation, heads are spinning, but hey, all right, let's level set and let's actually look at functional elements that are completely either inside or adjacent to the core clouds that are agentic flows that actually just kind of work because we've done the data modeling, we've done the workflow, we've done all that stuff for you. And instead of just saying, hey, go build your agents because we want thousands and thousands of agents to have that heft of like market dominance, it's more like, hey, let's get stuff that actually works so people see value and the disillusionment factor doesn't creep in, right? Because that's their fear, right? So I think when you look at those acquisitions, it's a really interesting kind of lead up because I think it's going to be a much more kind of packaged and pragmatic rather than Wild West, build any agent you want, it's going to be awesome, right? Because I think that's had, I'll say, mixed results at best, right?
Yeah, and don't forget Informatica, which
oh yeah, well I'm saying
arguably is a boring acquisition, but yet feels
super critical. Well, that's what I mean, like, because what was interesting is you kind of saw with Airtable and Informatica and others, like kind of foundational elements that make AgentForce, for example, what it is, and where Data Cloud, the core clouds, and where like kind of MuleSoft and Informatica and all that kind of data and workflow come together. Now you're seeing these pocket acquisitions that are a little smaller, not as big headliney, but actually really important for actually bringing value where the rubber meets the road. And I think that's kind of interesting. So seeing these smaller pocket acquisitions that kind of make these big things work together even better out of the box for non-technical end users will be interesting. Because we're going to hear from, as a Certinia and all that, and they're going to probably have a much more like hands-on story versus, your SMB mid-market kind of 1 or 2 cloud user of Salesforce. What does AgentForce mean to them? A lot of question marks today. So inherently functional, that's the term I've been using. Agentic tools need to be available for these guys. And that's how Salesforce, ServiceNow, and others are going to win and fight back against any bubble crashing, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of all this practicality ties into a report I just did, sort of looking at AWS or their boring is beautiful strategy in terms of messaging, kind of a news analysis basically. But that's the theme. It's very practical. And I remember when they started talking about this at Reinforce and AWS Summit New York, I could overhear a lot of griping. They're like, well, where's the sizzle? Where's this and that?
Right.
CXOs don't need sizzle right now. They need to get this crap to production.
Yeah, no, totally.
So I can see a lot of vendors kind of go in that practicality route right now because that's what the market needs.
100%. I mean, it's kind of like taking you said, like when you hear people asking about AI stocks in line at Wawa, it's kind of like when you looked at like crypto, right? Where it was like, if by the time, those same people talking in line at Wawa are talking about investing in crypto, your opportunities, it's already over. The bubble's already over. But once everybody kind of knows what it is and kind of gets that practical knowledge of what it is, then you can actually start to see the applications of blockchain and other things taking effect and being accepted. And it's kind of the same idea, right? A little bit different, but that idea of now we're getting to this point of like, give us like pragmatic use cases that are functional, that are proving ROI, and then let them spread, right? And that's where it's going to be. And I think an AWS has more of an arms dealer approach, right? Not trying to sell necessarily applications directly, but working with other providers, working with other platforms, and being more embedded. I mean, their approach makes sense, right? Because they're not as on the hook for that as someone who's saying like, I've got functional elements that you can just grab, right? You know what I mean? So I think they're a little more lucky in how they can go to market with it.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for the news this week. But stay tuned for my interview with Certinia's Raju Malhotra. Hi, I'm Larry Dignan with Constellation Insights, and we're here with Raju Malhotra. He is Chief Product and Technology Officer at Certinia. Hi, Raju. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me.
So Certinia used to be Financial Force, I guess, for the people who are uninitiated. At a high level, what does Certinia do?
Yeah, so Certinia helps technology and services organizations orchestrate people and work. What that means is really we help on any organization of a certain size and above manage their professional services business, sell it, manage it, and deliver it, all within the construct of enterprise business.
So is it basically like a ERP systems for services units?
So we work with the ERP and CRM systems. We're native on Salesforce platform, so we connect with all the data sources. But think of us as, selling services is unique in the sense you really have people, their hours, their skills as the currency. So we work with the CRM to help them in the sales and pre-sale process, estimate, can you even bid on this project? And hopefully you win that bid. And once you bid that, then how do you manage your resources, help the consultants enter time and expenses, and really then finally manage it like a true P&L with all the financials behind it. So really we connect with the ERP, CRM that our customers have, but really manage it as a professional services automation cloud.
Okay. And you just did your summer release, and I noticed a couple of agents in there. So wanted to talk a good bit about that because, who's not talking about Agentic AI? So I guess walk us through the two you have and sort of what the roadmap looks like in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So we announced a number of things in the summer release. The most notable, actually, you're right, are the two agents that are staffing agent and customer success agent. And these two agents help our customers really accomplish many of their day-to-day tasks in a highly accelerated, very productive, and a high quality way. So for example, we've been working with some early adopter customers. In some cases, the staffing agent, can reduce what it used to take them hours into less than a few minutes. And similarly for customer success agent, it really helps them be way more productive and impactful in their business.
And you were an early AgentForce partner. How has that platform evolved, and what was, were all these agents built on AgentForce, or did you use something else?
We built these two agents on AgentForce, and you're right, we have been early partner of AgentForce. And since last year around Dreamforce, when Salesforce announced the AgentForce platform, that was AgentForce 1.0, and it's been less than a year, and AgentForce has evolved from 1.0 to 2.0, and now it's the 3.0. And in terms of capabilities, has really come a long way, and we are very proud to be part of that partnership and giving feedback to Salesforce to make it better for our joint customers, and also be the beneficiary of some of the early innovation that has come through Salesforce.
Now a lot of enterprises it's pretty early in the agent an agent journey, so to speak. I mean, there's so many enterprises trying to get their data act together. What have you learned in terms of building these agents, and what are some of the best practices to think of?
I think the one thing that you just mentioned already, it's really getting the data quality, data integrity in the right way. But the broader point is, it's really about thinking in a unified way how your disparate systems, and more importantly, disparate data actually gets connected. So when you think about AI, be it predictive AI, generative AI, or the agentic AI that we're talking about, actually is built on the complete view of your customers that requires the unification. So I think the number one learning is it goes back to some of the basics around discipline for how the data is collected, managed, retained, cleansed, and transformed, all within the boundaries of the organization. So it is actually ready to be taken action by the agents.
And is everything that you built your agent on, is it all in data cloud, or is it pulling in different data sources all over the place?
So we are, get the benefit of being on the Salesforce platform. So we're pulling in data from Certinia, which is, really going to the Salesforce platform. We're really thinking about source of truth here as the services project. And that is built from customer data that comes from CRM, comes from financial data. But really, we kind of manage that for our customers. And if they have data cloud, that story gets better. If they have Slack, if they have marketing cloud, if they have service cloud. But we really require the Salesforce platform as a requirement to operate. And we manage the rest of the work for our customers. But we also realize our customers are part of ecosystem within Salesforce, so they may have other products. And as they add on other products, it actually gets increasingly better for them.
So I guess what's the wish list for you to scale your own agents?
So I think on the wish list, number one is there are some capabilities we still want to make sure we have as an ISV. What Salesforce has done a great job of building out the roadmap for AgentForce for the customer, and we work very closely with Salesforce to actually get the packaging, get the monetization, get some of the telemetry reporting as an ISV, so we can make it natively available for Certinia customers. So that's, I think, about capabilities. I think the second really aspect is about how we're going to orchestrate agents within our system, because we're going to have a number of agents within Certinia that will work with other Salesforce agents maybe, or within other Certinia agents, as well as through interoperability of agent to agent or MCP with other third-party agents also. So that, I think, the agent orchestration is going to be a second category of wish list. Then I would say about, as we think about performance and scale, especially at the level that Certinia operates for our customers, we have 2 million users, and we have a huge, set of requirements about latency and performance. I think those are the third set of requirements. I would say the final sort of area is really about the enterprise readiness, of which security is a big construct. MCP is a protocol, as we just talked about, and I think we really need to think about security in a much more specific and significant way that has to be baked in as part of the platform. So those are some of the areas that we have a wish list around.
In terms of your roadmap going forward, I guess what's next in terms of what you're thinking about in terms of scaling agents and, just sort of your experience so far with agents. The other thing, I guess, is, how do you think about process now that you start playing around with these things more?
Yeah, I think the pace of change is so fast, and it is only getting faster and faster. So I think it's first of all, very interesting to see how we within Certinia product development team are applying some of these new agentic technologies and really rethinking the whole notion of product development. And that is not only about faster development, but also much more quality, and customer focused development. But as we think about roadmap for our customers, it is going to be about improving some of the work that we already have in the market as part of our early adopter program for staffing agent and customer success agent. We have some other, agents also planned. One of them is a Certinia Central agent, which really helps our customers get the most value out of their Certinia investment, and really acts as effectively a customer success manager for Certinia. And it helps you not only get some information in a much more user-friendly way, but also helps you do some tasks like upgrade, schedule some changes, et cetera, et cetera. So we really want to make sure we are the starting point for making sure our customers are successful using Certinia, and we provide that. And the broader focus for us is to really think about professional services cloud as a set of capabilities in continuum. When we think about services estimation as part of sales process, when we think about resource management, when we think about project management, when we think about financials as part of professional services cloud, we have specific areas of investment in making those capabilities be more relevant as part of our roadmap. Similarly, customer success is very important, and we think about customer success cloud effectively building on the power of professional services cloud. So both of those are very much a focus for us as we build our roadmap and bring that innovation to our customers.
All right. Anything I didn't ask that I should have? Any final words?
We see the world is moving to, especially in the enterprise professional services, is a workforce that is not just inclusive of humans. It has agents. And one of the key areas that we are driving our plans for is how would a orchestration using Certinia would help our customers in a hybrid human and agent workforce, not just purely of humans, and really thinking about having agents as your team members, as your peers, as well as having a team that actually gets overall concept of delivery to your end customers in a very different way than what we have been traditionally used to. And we want to prepare our customers for that world, and we want to have the right capabilities and really drive towards that hybrid human agent workforce.
All righty. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Martin Schneider with Constellation here. Wanted to take a quick moment to talk about my latest big idea report, which is all about building an expansion revenue mindset. The title has a bit of kind of a moribund tone to it. It's time to let cross-sell and upsell die, but much more positive once you get into it, right? We need to be thinking more about expansion revenue as kind of a full journey, full life cycle engagement model. Things got to change, right? When we think about those silos between marketing, sales, and customer success, things kind of get really weird, right? A lot of data gets lost, gets trapped in silos, handoffs get missed, opportunities get missed, revenue opportunities get missed. How do we change that, right? That's all about shifting into that expansion revenue mindset. Now, how do you do that, right? Well, one is, there's a lot of kind of cultural and organizational needs and just the way you approach the go-to-market motions inside your business. In this retention and expansion economy, you really do need to be thinking more about orchestrating engagement, full journey, right? Pre-sales, during the sales process, post-sales onboarding, all those things need to be better managed, right? So that you are pulling the right data and identifying potential revenue opportunities, right? So how do you do that, right? Again, taking that mindset also, is one thing. But secondly, how do you get help, right? Agentic AI and composable applications are going to get you pretty far, right? You're going to be able to build those applications that have shared views between teams. They're not as kind of locked in and siloed in between just salespeople or just customer success managers, and taking that much more fluid approach to who can collaborate and how people can collaborate and what data they can access is going to help. And then the agentic AI can actually take some of those micro flows, some of those tasks, even reminders and recommendations, and automate those so that, less falls through the cracks and less opportunities are missed. Finally, this report talks a lot about the revenue intelligence layer. Now, what is that, right? Now, I've got a short list about revenue platforms, and I've got sales engagement platform tools short lists. But when you kind of think of the revenue intelligence layer, it's a little more than that. There's really no one product that manages it, but it's about taking an approach to bringing kind of your data analytics, your workflow, some of your CRM and other customer facing applications, and your revenue and RevOps tools. And I mentioned a bunch of those in the report, and bringing them together in a layer that literally kind of analyzes the entire life cycle of the relationship, identifies great opportunities to engage that might bring, new and expansion revenue opportunities inside your install base. And again, optimizes the relationship and optimizes customer lifetime value, right? So again, in this report, talk a lot about this kind of why we need to change into this expansion mindset and let kind of cross-sell and upsell, how it lives in its siloed inside sales and maybe inside customer success. That needs to die. It needs to be a much more collaborative and team sport. You need to be using AI, especially agentic AI and some generative AI, to bring that together. I bring a big list of the kind of types of agents you should either be building or consuming, and talk a lot about that revenue intelligence layer and how that can go really far in uncovering and unlocking more opportunities to drive much more optimal customer lifetime value. And again, I give a bunch of recommendations on how to get started and what to be doing around data, people, and processes, right? So a lot of cool stuff there. Again, check out my latest big idea report. It's available in the research section at ConstellationR.com. All right, well, that is a wrap on episode 112 of CRTV. Catch us in 2 weeks, and we will have Liz and Holger doing their thing and talking about all kinds of fun stuff as well.
Yeah, it's likely they'll be yapping about Dreamforce just like we did. We're just a little taste test of that.
Yeah, there's also a lot of other events going on. There's inbound,
exactly. And don't forget to follow us on Constellation R, on X. I keep calling it Twitter, and hashtag CRTV show.
That's right. And subscribe to Constellation Research TV on YouTube, as well as get on our website at constellationr.com and subscribe to Larry's Insights. That's the best way to stay on top of everything that's happening in tech. Larry is a machine, and if it's happening within seconds or minutes, Larry's on top of it with great insights and great news analysis. So again, thanks a lot for joining us, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Stay tuned for my interview with Certinia's Raju Malhotra. Stay tuned for my interview with Certinia's Raju Malhotra. Maybe I'll do that again.
One more time. Hey, Martin Schneider with Constellation here. Wanted to take a quick moment to talk about my latest big idea report. It's got a bit of a kind of a moribund title called, let me start. I'm killing myself. All right, I have the script here, and I hate when I actually read.